Hi everyone. In this lesson I'm going to go over the different render elements that I like to use that will help out in post-production. First I just want to mention that the way I use the render elements is not to build up the image in a physically accurate way. Instead it's just to give me some extra options and flexibility after I've rendered it out. So I still primarily use the beauty path, and everything else is just kind of added on top of it to serve various functions. So if you open up your render settings and scroll over to the render elements tab, you can see I've already added into the scene the elements that I like to use. To add something on the list on the left, just double click and it'll add it to the list. And for most of them, that's all you need to do. There's a few of them that require a little bit of setup, and I'll go through those. To delete one, just select it and then come down here and click remove. So the only ones that require a bit of setup are the material ID, these multi-matte elements, and the Z-depth. So first let's take a look at the Z-depth. I've already gone through and rendered these out. So if we go down to the Z-depth, you can see this is just a black to white image, with black being in the foreground and then it going to white in the back. So we need to tell it where this black depth should be. So to do that, we just want to select some object, basically the far back of our scene. So just select something, and then if you go to display and then heads up display and then choose object details, you'll get some information over here about the selected object. And this one is, let's actually select one of these things. Make sure you're viewing it through the render cam, and this will tell you how far it is from the camera. So almost 30,000, so that's why I've put 30,000 in here for the white depth. And if anything has the option for filtering or anti-aliasing, I like to make sure that it's checked. Next render element we can look at is the material ID. And this one will look something like this after you've set it up. Basically this is going to assign a different color to each material in your scene. So to do that, just select a material, and then up at the top go to Attributes and V-Ray, and then check this box here for Material ID. And then if you scroll down to the bottom, you'll get this extra tab here. If you expand that, you can give it whatever color you want. So you just have to go through your machine, your scene, and choose the materials that you think might be helpful for having a quick way to select them once you're in Photoshop, and assign them a particular material ID color. Next we can look at these multi-matte elements. I've created several of these. These also work for quick selections in Photoshop, but they work a little bit differently. Basically they're separated into different channels. So you'll assign a particular object to either the red, green, or blue channel. So each one of these can obviously only have 3 things, unlike the material ID, they can have a bunch of colors in there. So if we select one of these, when you create this, let's create a new one here. First I would turn this anti-aliasing on, and then you'll give each one of these a different number. And then you'll assign pieces of geometry to have one of these numbers. So for example, this first one that I set up, or actually this one, we have 1, 2, and 3 for the red, green, and blue channels. And then I've taken the sides here, and this is actually you can apply this to an entire group. So this group here If you go to Attributes, V-Ray, and then check Object ID, you'll get this extra tab down here at the bottom, and you'll just assign this a number here, and that will correspond to one of these numbers that you've set up in the multi-matte element. So in this case, these signs were set to 3, which will be blue, and then when we render it out, we'll get them in the blue channel. So then in Photoshop, all you have to do is select that blue channel, and you'll get a quick and accurate selection. So I just like to go through my scene and think about some of the things that I might want to have a quick selection for, things that I might want to be adjusting, like the glass. I might want to make that brighter or darker, and the water, and different things like that. And these are some of the interior elements. And there's one last pass that I like to set up, and that's an occlusion pass, but I'm going to set that up a little bit differently, and I will show you how to do that in the next lesson.